The call for future secession, the end stages of the Republic. Donald Trump has just been elected President of the United States of America. Although he lost the popular vote, he will win through the Electoral College process. This is a catastrophic choice that has been made. He will make major errors that will bring about the downfall of the USA as we know it. Whether it is a foreign policy disaster, an economic disaster, or a social disaster, he will make a critical mistake. With the luck we've been having, he will probably commit errors on all the aforementioned fronts. However, not all is lost. If and when he makes a catastrophic mistake, there are areas of the United States that should not go down with him like a sinking ship. The blue states and blue areas in the United States need to ask themselves a simple question. Is Red America really like me? Do they share the same values that we do? Do they contribute to the nation? The simple answer is no, they don't. We really are two Americas that haven't seen eye to eye for a very long time. In the past, we had a civil war as our disagreements couldn't be mediated any longer with diplomacy. In the recent past, the nation underwent monumental shifts in integrating all citizens into one American society. This was met with disdain, contempt, and violence throughout the United States, but very acutely in certain regions. Currently, we have blue states and blue areas that are completely removed from the rest of America, namely the blue states and blue cities that voted for Hillary Clinton. It is true that she wasn't the optimal candidate to take on Donald Trump, but by light years was she the better candidate. Donald Trump was engaging in racial opportunism and scapegoating to stir up negative emotions that have laid dormant, albeit present, like a fart that smells awful but dissipates. It was there and gone, yet pops up from time to time. Well, this time he has exposed the shit that was the cause for the odor. Racism, xenophobia, homophobia, bigotry, religious intolerance, which leads us to fascism. The unquestioning obedience to one leader, regardless of whether he is wrong or right, who will make everything right by himself with the power of the military, religious institutions, and industries backing his actions. In order to do what? Make the nation great again at the expense of our rights, with some of us being sacrificed to make the nation lawful and strong in their vision. By doing so, they believe they can eliminate the weaker citizenry and so-called unpatriotic citizens and non-ethno-nationalists to make the nation cohesive, self-sufficient, powerful, and return to the quote-unquote natural hierarchy of society. In reality, die-hard Trump supporters only want their group to benefit at the expense of everyone else. Only they are entitled to rights and privileges, while everyone else isn't a true American, and so therefore not entitled like they are to the country's rights and economic benefits. Well, that vision is not going to happen. The world has bared witness to this nightmare before. World War II. The world cannot tolerate another Hitler, especially one who will have executive command of the most powerful nation to have ever existed in human history. Therefore, I propose future secession of the liberal areas of these United States if certain actions are taken by the future president. By doing so, we can undercut his power to harm us or the world entirely. Make no mistake, this will be the toughest obstacle to face in many of our lives, but yet it must be focused on and conquered. Representative democracy and the fate of the world rests on our shoulders. We must prepare, lay down the legal framework for secession, and take appropriate actions to mitigate attempts to negate our rights. The following events should trigger calls for immediate secession. If he tries to eliminate gay rights, immediate secession. If he tries to control women's bodies at the federal level with an amendment, immediate secession. If he tries to have citizens of certain religions or ethnicities registered in a special government database, immediate secession. If he tries to impose martial law, immediate secession. If he dissolves NATO, immediate secession. If he engages in trade wars, immediate secession. If he tries to enrich himself by using the office of the presidency, immediate secession. If the economy collapses, immediate secession. This last trigger is probably the most probable. He will try to undo the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, without having a replacement. He's going to cut taxes for the rich and increase spending, which is idiotic. He will engage in trade wars, and we will spiral into another recession. Let's take a look at some maps to prove our point about Red America being the true welfare queens and the true beta states. A bit of irony since the right always refers to liberals as beta males and females. The first map shows that most of the money made in the United States tend to be in liberal areas that voted for Hillary and the Democratic Party. The first area, number 1, is New York, Newark, Jersey City area with $1.56 trillion. The second area is the Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim area with $867 billion. The third area is Chicago, Naperville, and Elgin with $611 billion. On their side, they have just Texas producing number 4 and 5, combined about $1 trillion. Here, you can see that green states pay more in federal taxes than they get back in federal spending. This map also resembles the 2016 presidential election map. The conservative yellow states, minus Texas, which complain the loudest about government spending, get back more from the government than they pay in taxes. As we can see, they don't make any money, and they burden us with taking our taxes, but still want to impose their vision of America on us. Therefore, I propose to separate the wheat from the chaff. Future secession is our only hope to escape the yoke of conservative states and conservative philosophy, especially the type of right-wing ideology that espouses conservatism as aristocracy. Only certain areas can secede. As we can see on the map, blue states and areas tend to be on the coast and in cities. The criteria is that they have access to supplies either by port or by way of friendly countries like Canada or Mexico. They also can't be surrounded by red on all sides. They must possess a numerical advantage spread out to a certain degree in order to be able to defend themselves if and when the time comes. New England and the Pacific states are strongholds of liberalism that can sustain themselves. These areas have vast amounts of capital, resources, industry, and a formidable population base. These are the key factors necessary to secede. These areas must also secede together to overwhelm the other side. A new nation must emerge, the American Alliance. What we need now are brave, democratic lawmakers, whether at the state level or city level, to start laying the legal framework for secession. They also must synchronize their actions together to form a powerful force of action that once it's started, can't be stopped. Liberals need to do their part and prepare to engage in the greatest challenge of our lives. Liberals and left libertarians, you have to be willing to fight and die for what you believe in. Our side welcomes diversity of thought, and we abhor violence, but there comes a time where you can't engage in diplomacy anymore. We must ensure that representative democracy, the human race in all of its complexity, and the very earth itself survives. Stand up, stand up, stand up. I will post more videos on what the liberal citizenry must do so that we are on the same page.